The first thing people notice is the hoodie. Faded gray sleeves a little too long, the kind you grab without thinking when you're running late and don't expect anything important to happen. That's what I was wearing the morning I walked into courtroom 7C in Graybridge, and yeah, that ended up mattering a lot more than it should have. The room smelled like burnt coffee and old paper, that nervous courthouse smell, and before I even made it halfway down the aisle, I could feel it. The shift, the looks, the assumptions lining up in people's heads. Judge Malcolm Rourke didn't even wait for me to open my mouth. He looked up, sneered, and said, "You lost, son. This isn't a playground." Yeah, that happened. You've got to understand the place first. Graybridge County doesn't do justice gently. It does it fast and hard, like an assembly line. Judge Rourke was famous for that. 70 years old, sharp hair, sharper tongue, the kind of judge who didn't sit behind the bench so much as loom over it. People whispered his name like it was a warning. Once you were in his courtroom, especially if you didn't look like money, the ending was pretty much written. That morning's case was State v. Jalen Carter. Jalen was 18, skinny, scared hands shaking so bad the cuffs rattled against the table. He wasn't some hardened criminal, just a kid who should have been worrying about school, not prison. Across from him sat Brent Holloway, the county's star prosecutor, suit probably worth more than Jalen's whole apartment, checking his watch like court was an inconvenience. Judge Rourke asked if defense counsel was present. Silence. The public defender didn't show, and that wasn't rare. It was strategy. Overload the defenders, let one miss court, then squeeze the kid into a plea before he can even breathe. Holloway stood up. Smooth, confident, asked to revoke bail and remand Jalen immediately. Rourke nodded without blinking. Motion granted. Just like that. Jalen's mom made this sound in the back row I'll never forget, like something inside her cracked. That's when the doors opened and I walked in. Hoodie. Messenger bag. No suit. I wasn't rushing, I wasn't apologizing, I just walked because I knew if I hesitated even a little they'd smell it. Judge Rourke slammed his gavel and pointed at me. "You! Stop right there. Bailiff, hold him. I'm holding him in contempt." The bailiff stepped in hand on his belt, telling me not to reach for anything. I sighed honestly, more tired than scared. I reached into my bag and pulled out a stack of papers, tossed them onto the defense table so they slid right in front of Jalen. "Notice of appearance," I said. Then I looked up at the bench and called the judge by his first name. The room gasped. "Nobody does that. My name is Aaron Cross," I said, "and I'm counsel for Mr. Carter, and unless you want a mistrial for judicial bias, you should probably let me sit down." Silence. Real silence. Holloway laughed, circled me like I was a joke, said I looked like I was there to rob the place. Rourke asked where my suit was, where my decorum was. I told him the truth mostly. My suit's at the cleaners. I was helping a client downstairs when I heard you were about to railroad mine. I flicked my bar card onto the bench. The clerk checked. Active. No issues. Rourke tossed it back like it burned him and told me to sit. I sat next to Jalen and put my hand on his shoulder. He flinched at first, then steadied. That mattered. Holloway said the case was open and shut. Stolen watches in Jalen's backpack. Eyewitness officer saw him running. I told them I'd read the discovery. Holloway smirked. Rourke checked his watch, irritated, told me to be quick. I stood and read the report out loud. Time, date, arresting officer. Then I said the thing that changed the room. At that exact time, Jalen wasn't near the jewelry store. He was at the East Graybridge Community Center. Rourke scoffed. An alibi. I looked him dead in the eye. Yours. That's when he froze. I pulled out my tablet, played the live stream from the district attorney fundraiser. Timestamp 9:41 p.m. There was Rourke in the front row nodding along to his own speech about cleaning up the streets. In the background, clear as day, Jalen stacking chairs wearing the same backpack. Holloway tried to say it was edited. I told him it was from the DA's official page. Then I zoomed the screen. Right next to Rourke, sitting as security, was the same bailiff who claimed he'd chased Jalen from the store. The room erupted. People stood up. Someone shouted. Rourke slammed the gavel, screaming for order, but it was over. You can't be in two places at once. I asked the question out loud so everyone could hear it. So how does an officer see my client running from a crime scene 3 miles away while he's sitting next to you at a fundraiser? Rourke tried to call it a clerical error. I asked if it was a pattern. 38 arrests in a year, 32 young black men, same story, same courtroom, same prosecutor. That's when you could feel it. The moment people stopped thinking it was a mistake and started realizing it was a system. I said the word out loud. Inventory. Rourke threatened to bar me. I moved to dismiss to recuse him. He denied it all, scheduled a hearing for the next morning, threatened me with disbarment and indictment. Court adjourned. As he walked out, he looked at me like I'd just signed my own death warrant. And yeah, I knew I'd poked the bear. That night, I sat in my office above a laundromat, mismatched desks, whiteboards covered in notes and red string holding an old photo of my father in an orange jumpsuit. Same eyes as me. Renee Dalton walked in with a bag of burgers, told me Rourke was digging into my past. I told her good. She showed me the rest of the picture. Private juvenile detention contracts, Northline Corrections payments per occupied bed. Rourke's wife owned shares under her maiden name. 97% conviction rate. Almost every kid sent to Northline. He wasn't sentencing them. He was selling them. That's when it clicked fully. Jalen wasn't special. He was convenient. That night before midnight, I got pulled over. Red and blue lights. Same bailiff. Same smirk. He told me to apologize in court. Take the deal, let the kid do a couple years. If I didn't, he said they'd find drugs in my car or say I assaulted an officer. Then he mentioned my father. That was supposed to break me. It didn't. I didn't go home. I went to a dive bar and sat across from the accountant who cooked Northline's books. Told him the ship was sinking. Told him he was the loose end. After a long pause, he slid me a USB drive and bank statements. Shell Company. Monthly payments to Rourke's wife. I told him to get out of town. The next morning, courtroom 7C looked like a movie set. Cameras everywhere. The hoodie clip had gone viral overnight. Millions of views. I wore a suit this time, not because I needed it, but because I wanted them to see the contrast. Holloway tried to disqualify me, said I had a vendetta because Rourke sentenced my father years ago. Rourke loved that. Asked me if it was true. I said yes. Said my father was innocent just like Jalen, and the only difference was I had evidence now. Rourke granted the motion, ordered me removed. And then the doors opened. The Attorney General walked in with state troopers and took over the room without raising her voice. She told the court I'd been in her office at 4 a.m. with documents she found disturbing. Holloway tried to protest. She shut him down. I plugged in the USB. Payments, dates, shell companies. I played the dash cam audio of the bailiff threatening me. Troopers cuffed him on the spot. I explained the machine out loud. Police plant prosecutor stamps. Judge Seals Corporation pays. Then the AG ordered Judge Malcolm Rourke arrested. He snapped, grabbed the gavel, swung it, got tackled. The gavel skidded across the floor and stopped at my feet. Just wood and brass. Holloway tried to run. Deputies blocked him. Then the new bailiff unlocked Jalen's cuffs. The sound they made hitting the table was the loudest thing I'd heard all day. Jalen hugged me and asked if it was over. I told him he was going home. As they dragged Rourke past us, he whispered that I'd ruined him, asked for what. I told him it wasn't for a thug. It was for every kid he sold. And for my father. 6 months later, Northline got raided. Emails came out talking about kids like units. Accounts got frozen. Rourke ended up in an orange jumpsuit in the very facility he'd profited from. Some people called it justice. Some called it revenge. Me, I stood at my father's grave with a folded newspaper and told him I couldn't save him, but I could stop it from happening again. And I went back to work because there's